Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Marc Ernay with the coach of the Jaspers baseball team, Dave Miller, and we, of course, are talking Jaspers baseball as the guys come off a three-game sweep over the weekend against Norfolk State. Coach, how you doing? You had to enjoy the weekend down in Norfolk, huh?
Yeah, it was a little chilly and a little wet, but I mean, guys are playing a lot better, and we got some wins, which is great. But we still got a lot of work to do, and Marshall's coming up, Norfolk's behind us.
So you got swept the opening weekend, a sweep this past weekend. You noticed that I went with a green sweater for episode one. That didn't work out so good. So the green jacket is back
There
until
you go.
further notice. So let's hope it doesn't go away anytime soon as you get ready to visit the Thundering Herd and open up their new facility. So the Spartans, obviously, you got rained out on Friday, so you had to play a doubleheader on Saturday. How did the guys adjust? Obviously, results-wise, they had no problem, but in terms of getting ready after the letdown of Friday's rainout, how did things go?
Well, I mean, we just needed to make sure they got their rest Friday nights. Saturday was going to be a long day. Again, it was wet, it was chilly. So the guys just needed to, do what they had to do to prepare for a long day on the baseball field, and they did a pretty good job.
In terms of your defense, this is something that we didn't see a whole lot of, and obviously much improvement over a year ago. But the three-game series, just one error. So, what is going so well? I mean, obviously, it seems pretty simple, right? Throw the ball, catch the ball. But why so much better
Well,
so
I
far this
mean,
year?
so we changed some things around, and I think we're putting guys in positions where they can thrive. But I mean, the work that these guys are putting in is relentless, and these guys go out every day and they want to get better defensively. That was a big issue for us last year. That was a big piece of our off-season recruiting, and was to go out and solidify a solid defense, because we knew that pitching would be our strength this year. So we wanted to put 9 guys behind him that can play solid defense.
Speaking of the pitching, another terrific start. 5 innings again from Justin Solomine. He gets his first win, and four more terrific innings. Scoreless ball from Greg Shaw on Friday.
Yeah, Solomon, Justin's been doing a fantastic job of getting us to the fifth. And when we put Greg Shaw out against Alabama, last year Greg was a two-way guy for us. He would take batting practice with the offense, work out at first base, and then do pitching on the side. This year, we decided to put the bat down and focus solely just on being a pitcher. And his velocity has gone up about 5 to 6 miles per hour, and he's really, worked on his off speed. His slider has gotten a lot better, but his changeup is almost an elite pitch. And so, Greg is just he's a very quiet and shy kid, but mentally he's tough as nails.
And coming off that opening weekend, you saw Chase Swain break out. I said Friday, I meant Saturday's game one, obviously, but you saw Chase Swain break out with 3 hits in that first game of the doubleheader. What locked in for him?
Well, it's Chase. Chase is another interesting story. Chase was committed to me when I was the head coach at LaSalle, and when LaSalle folded, I went to Penn State Abington. He followed me there, and then followed me here to Manhattan. But last year, Chase couldn't play, so he had to sit out a year. So he's been itching to get back on the field, and he's a table setter for us. He's the kid. If Chase goes, we're all going to go. And he had a great game, a great day Saturday with the 3 hits in game one. I think he walked 3 times in game two. But the interesting piece with Chase is that on Sunday or Saturday at Alabama, he tweaked a hamstring out in the outfield. So we DH Chase this weekend, hoping that it would help heal him. But I think the mistake that we made was that he was on base 7 times in a day, and I think we kind of re-aggravated his leg a little bit. So, as much as Chase is the middle of our order, him and Drew, Chase will stay home this weekend. When we go to Marshall, we got to get him healthy. Chase is the fastest player on the team. He's a kid that should steal 30 bases for us. So we've got to get his leg right. So as much as Chase is awesome, he puts in a lot of work. He's going to be a great player for us, but unfortunately this weekend we'll be without him.
Gave you a chance, though, to put Dylan Mayer in at center field. What did you see from him, both in center and at the plate?
Well, so again, Dylan is an interesting story. He came to us as a left-handed pitcher. I always tell him he reminds me a lot of me when I was a player at Clemson. I went to Clemson as a left-handed pitcher, and I became an All-American first baseman, which is what we did with Dylan. But with Trevor Hansen at first, we needed his bat was something that we thought is going to be very special. So we threw him in the outfield, and he's been a very, very solid outfielder for us. But he's giving us a quality at bat every day. But we've got to get the strikeouts down with Dylan. I mean, he's swinging too hard to hit that first ball 500 feet, and the kid's strong as an ox, and we just got to tone him down a little bit. And that kid's going to be a very, very special player.
Before we get back to the offense, I want to wrap up on the pitching. Game 2 Saturday, nice bounce back for Matera.
Yeah, and again, Noah's, if you look at Noah's stat line at Alabama, it was not good. But if you actually watch the game, I think we talked about this last week on the last episode, Alabama paper cutted Noah to death. Just a lot of CNI singles and blue pits. So, it might look bad on paper, but it wasn't as bad watching it live in person. I thought Noah had a great outing last week at Alabama, and he backed it up with another very good outing at Norfolk State. This is a kid that, he's a true veteran leader. He should be a great Saturday guy for us all season if we can keep him on the bump. He's a very wise older player, smart kid, knows how to pitch, knows how to command the zone. And, we're very excited to have him here.
And 4 more scoreless relief innings in game 2 from Connor O'Neill and Pat Penn.
Yep. Again, I'm very proud of Connor. He didn't pitch at Alabama, and last year he was our Sunday starter. And, this year, we're going in a different direction for now. So we had to keep Connor, happy, knowing what his new role might be, knowing that we're going to need 70 pitches from him at any time, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And he was just electric in his outing, on Saturday game 2. And he really showed us that he's ready to compete for whatever role he's needed in, but, he's working hard to try to get that starting job back. Pat was awesome. Pat just is a kid who he kind of been like a back piece for us for the last couple of years, but this year he's added some velocity. His changeup has been electric, and so this is a kid that we're going to have to find some more innings for. I mean, he's earned the right to pitch for us, and he's we got a couple weeks from now. We got, I think, 9 games in a week. So these guys all got to be ready to throw a lot.
And then Joe Duffield started for you on Sunday, gave you another inning. And then Staiano, terrific again out of the bullpen. He picked up his first win with Calburn and Garrett Garbinski backing him up. And Garbo got his first save.
Yep. Garbo's Garbo. I mean, he struck out 6 in 2 innings. His stuff is just getting better and better every time he goes out and throws. That's just a testament to his work ethic and his wants to be the best pitcher that he can be. Duffield, we're going to start to extend him here soon, but we've been building him in slowly. We call him our opener, just to try to get him anywhere from 20 to 35 pitches in an outing. I think we're ready to try to get him to 35 to 50, but Michael Staiano is another freshman that he can just get out there in any given day and give you 5 solid innings because he throws 3 pitches for strikes, and they're all quality pitches.
All right, I've got to get back to the offense, and the numbers that stand out for Danny Perez are just, I say stand out. They're eye-popping, and I want to just share them with the folks who are watching. So he's already 11 of 23 through your first 6 games, just under 500. He's scored 5 runs. He's driven in 4. He's racked up 12 total bases with, I guess, 10 singles and a double. But that's not really the story, right? The story is he had 0 3-hit games a year ago, and he's already had 1 this season. He had a handful of 2-hit games, but I think if I remember correctly, if well, let me go back and take a look. I have a screenshot of it. So hang on, everybody, because this is really worth mentioning. He's had in the last 4 games, including the weekend at Norfolk and the Sunday game at Bama. Sunday at Bama, 2 for 5. Game 1, Norfolk, 2 for 4. Game 2, 3 for 4. Game 2, 4 for 5. 2 for 5. So he is just tearing the cover off the ball.
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy last year that, he put up 8 home runs, but I don't think he had a lot of extra base hits other than the home runs. Danny's put in a lot of work with his swing. I mean, he was a very rotational hitter last year where it was base hit to right field or it was a pull foul line drive. So, we sat with Danny and told him we got to get him more to the middle of the field. And this kid has just put in hours and hours and hours of work. And it's paying off because, we had him batting 8th opening day, and now he's in our 2-hole. And hopefully he can maintain that because, if he can continue, him and Frank can set the table at the top of our lineup, then our 3, 4, 5 guys should have pretty good years driving them in.
And you mentioned Swain, that you're hoping to get 30 steals from him. Danny had 7 stolen bases all of last year, and 6 games in, he's already got 3.
Yeah, I mean, he was one that, he's sneaky fast. Danny's one of those guys that you think he's not giving you full motor because everything is so effortlessly smooth. He's just, everything just looks so fluid with him that you don't think he's running fast until he goes, and then he's always safe. So I green lighted Danny this year, so he's going to be able to run on his own when he wants, and hopefully that 7 can multiply into many, many more than that. So I'm very proud of the hard work he's been in. Danny came to us as a walk-on, wasn't expecting much with him last year, and he was named a captain preseason. So very proud of what he's done with Manhattan baseball.
You mentioned the number 7. Trevor Hansen's got 7 hits so far, 3 of them for extra bases. He got you your first home run of the season over the weekend.
Yeah, it's been interesting because the first 6 games that we've played in a lot of games where the wind's blowing just dead in. So our power numbers are looking small, but that's okay. I mean, but Trevor's just a big, strong kid. I mean, a kid's just farmer strong. I mean, it's ridiculous. And, I think he was out in front of a breaking ball on the first pitch that he hit out, and somehow pushed it through the wind at left field in Norfolk State. But he's been a kid that's worked hard. Again, it's when every kid that we talk about, it's just work ethic. They put in a lot of time to work on their strengths, but also to fix the weaknesses that they had. And last year, Trevor had some issues with breaking balls, and this year, not so much. So far, he's been pretty good at hitting the breaking ball. He knew that's what he was going to get a ton of. And so, he's been so much better this year at hitting off speed.
And he's leading the way for you so far in RBI production with 6. Danny Perez has 4. You've got a couple of guys also near the top of the lineup. In fact, the leadoff hitter, Frankie Marinelli's driven in 5, and one of your other newbies, Drew Wires, has 5 RBIs too. What are you seeing from Frankie and Drew so far?
Our lineup is, it's deep. I don't think we're going to, hit 100 home runs this year, but I think, from an on-base percentage and batting average percentages, once we get going, these guys are doing their job. I think right now, from a team standpoint, we're striking out a little way too much. But again, I will give them the first 2 weekends because we haven't been outside, but this is a team that they understand that they have to do their job. And, I think we have an 8 and 9 right now with Trevor Santos and Josiah Brown that they're getting on base. So Frankie's getting his RBIs, but then Frankie's and Danny Perez are getting on base to give Drew and Trevor their RBIs. So we just got to we got to keep passing it down, passing the bat down the line, and everybody that gets up, they just need to do the job that's asked of them at that at bat, whether it's drive in a run, get them over, butt them over, get on steal. But everyone's buying into what we're trying to do, and every weekend, if we just continue to get better and better and better, this team could be very special.
You mentioned Josiah still hasn't really gotten on track offensively, but how is he playing for you at short?
He's the catalyst for us at shortstop. I mean, he's just, we've had multiple conversations with him. Is if you hit 400, great. If you hit 200, I still need you to go out and play defense. And his bat's coming around. Switch hitter. We're fixing some things with him, but he's getting better in the cages every day. And I'm expecting some big things from him here soon with the bat. I mean, just like I am everybody else. Drew and Dylan are going to get hot. Vinny Davis is getting healthy. We have some young guys that we haven't even put in the game yet that I'm so excited to play when talk about Kai Hutchins or Aiden Katzman, JD Stemhagen, Nico Matera. We've such a deep outfield, so it's just hard. We're so deep, and I want to get these guys opportunities, but at the same time, right now I'm rolling with what's working, this past weekend. So it's a fun team to coach because, if, with Chase going down, next guy up, and Chase will be back right away. And, then, the guys will just have to be cheerleaders again. And it's just been an exciting time. It's a lot of fun to come to work every day.
Well, it's fun to watch from afar. It'll be even better when we finally get to see the guys in person, still a few weeks away. Obviously, you've got a couple of road trips left before the home opener. But I wanted to get back to Josiah. I think it was him. You'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was him. He had an error first inning at Alabama. You told him he needed to shake it off, and it seems like he has, right?
Yeah, he's not playing like a young freshman. I've seen guys that when they tell you they're ready, and then you put them out there, and it's like a deer in the headlights. And he doesn't have that. Yeah, he made a mistake. He made an error. It cost us a couple runs, but that's baseball. Like even Ozzie Smith occasionally made an error. So it's just one of those things where it happens, and we learn from it. We don't want to make these same mistakes over and over, and a lot of it's mental. So if he gets down mentally, that's when the mistakes really happen. But he's a mentally tough kid, and that's what even with his bat not being on all cylinders yet, he's playing tremendous defense. He's leading our offense as an 18-year-old, or leading our defense in our infield as an 18-year-old kid. So he's a pretty special young man.
Well, if you're going to mention Ozzie Smith, I have to ask, can he land a backflip?
I'm not going to ask him to do that because I don't want to put anybody else on the shelf.
Probably a good idea. Yeah. Let it keep everybody healthy. So Marshall coming up this weekend, you're opening up the Thundering Herd's new building too.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot of pictures. It looks like a beautiful brand new stadium. Speaking to Marshall and their coaches and, their SIDs, it's like looking like we're expecting a pretty good crowd all weekend, sell out on Friday. And I'm thinking we were going to West Virginia into some cool weather, but it's supposed to be in the 60s or low 70s even. So, it's going to be a fun weekend, and we're excited to go out there and open up their new stadium and be a part of their history. And, hopefully we can bring some W's home.
And just looking ahead at the schedule, you come home from West Virginia, then you get ready to go next weekend down to North Carolina, play Gardner-Webb. What have you seen from them so far on tape?
Gardner-Webb's always been a team that, they'll compete. And, I haven't really looked too much into their pitching and their hitters yet. We'll do that after Marshall, but, they're always going to put out a team that competes, and they're going to play hard. They're going to pitch. They're going to throw strikes. We just got to go out and play baseball. You got Gardner-Webb, then 2 at Clemson, and then we come home for Hofstra. I mean, that's, for our spring break trip, that's 6-9 games in 7 days. So it's a lot of baseball coming up for us.
The 2 midweek games at Clemson, we'll get into more next week. But as far as you going back there, what's it going to be like?
I'm excited. I'm still very close with a lot of my fraternity brothers. My Pi Kappa Alpha shout out there. and all the baseball players at Clemson. So, I'm expecting over 100 people at the game. And, it's funny because, they're doing sort of a Clemson Manhattan tribute, I guess, with some t-shirts that they're having made up. So I'm excited to see how these look. But, I was telling them to make, orange shirts with the Manhattan logos all over it. And they wanted no part of that, but they said, how about we do green shirts with Clemson logos all over it? And I said, I can handle that. So, you'll see a lot of green shirts up there that are Clemson fans, but they're also, they were big fans back when I played there, and they're still fans of mine today. So they're going to be excited for some good baseball.
Hey, you mentioned the green shirts. I mentioned my green jacket. Now that you have seen the uniforms on the field, what are you thinking?
With the Bronx,
With all of them, you have all
I
three new
love our
unis.
uniforms. I'm hoping. I know a lot of the SEC teams, or the SEC like Twitter feeds have taken notice. But we go out with our Friday grays. I love those. Those are really, really clean. But I love the fact that we have the Bronx tribute, in our alternate Sundays. So, Marshall is also green. So we've been in talks with Marshall. We might have to wear the greens on Saturday because they wear their greens on Sunday. So we
Right.
don't need two teams wearing green. But I absolutely love our jerseys, our uniforms. I'm always that guy that you look good, you feel good, you play good. So we got to put some good uniforms on the guys. A lot of compliments, and so now it just makes me think, what can we do moving forward to keep this swag up? So.
We both got a kick last week. There was a rumor floating around that a certain professional team that calls the Bronx home was going to use for their City Connect jerseys, if they ever do them, something across the chest that says the Bronx, and you beat them to it. So I have a feeling that
Yeah,
if there was war in the plans, they might have to be changed. So good job by you getting
I
ahead of
think
the
we
trend.
can both use that. I mean, I don't think there's anything cooler in the world than doing something that maybe that New York Bronx team, wears. Like, I'm from Philadelphia, and I grew up a Phillies fan. But being in the Bronx the last 2 years, there's something special about the Mets and the Yankees, and it just there's just a lot of history here. So anything that the Yankees want to do, we both have the Bronx across our shirts, dude. I'm pretty stoked about that.
That would be pretty cool, actually. Pitching plans for the weekend, same as you've had the last two?
Yep, we're not going to change anything. It's most likely going to be the same. The good news is we're getting, I think we're a few days away from getting Jack Mahoney off the disabled list, and he'll be back. But other than that, we have a couple other arms that are getting healthy. So as of right now, we're staying the same, and I don't see it changing, at least in the next couple of weeks.
And with Chase down, that's going to mean it bats for somebody, either a DH, or if you move Mayer back in from center field to DH, somebody else would play center. What's the plan there?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've got some guys that I really would like to see. Vinny Davis was a kid we had high. He's coming off of a little arm injury, so he's been in a DH role for right now. But we have guys like Ryan Brader getting healthy. But I have outfielders that I really want to see in those four that I mentioned earlier: Matera, Stemhagen, Katzman, and Kai Hutchins. So it's like I think this is a great time for one of your guys goes down, who's ready to step up and take charge. So we'll see how the weekend shapes up, but I think Dylan might be in there Friday with Vinny Davis DHing, and we'll go from there. Nothing solidified after that.
All right. Well, best of luck as you head down to Huntington, West Virginia, to take on the Thundering Herd of Marshall. Get to see up here in the northeast a couple of weeks from Friday. Looking forward to that. But of course, we will see you next week for another edition of this. Good talking to you, sir.
Thank you.
That is the head baseball coach at Manhattan College, Dave Miller. I'm Marc Ernay. We have been talking Jaspers baseball, and we'll see you next week right here on GoJaspers.com.